I just got us streaming on YouTube.
Hey, Hemant,
Yes.
I have something here. I got offline. Linguistic experts suggest that if you encounter a word 12 times through a year, your brain will store the piece of information as a long-term memory.
Yes, that's true. I agree with that. Somebody told me that all this memorization, even people who do the wrong things, they lie to themselves so many times that it becomes a true story for them. So there's some truth to it.
So hey, Carmen. Hi, Leaf. Hi, Kurt. Hi, Rainy.
Rainy. Elena, no.
Hi, Elaine. Let's see. Hi, Carol and Dinesh.
Hi, Linda.
Hey, Judy, man.
Hi.
Buddy.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Linda.
We'll get started in maybe just a couple more minutes. I've got that it's 7 o'clock right now, but we usually have more by now. So we'll give it another minute or two.
So it is 80 some degrees outside. Some people are doing the lumbering there, you know. Chitra, how are you? Oh, she just got
Hi,
in.
Chitra.
Hello,
Hi,
Chitra.
Heen.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Hemant.
Hello.
Got a few people on YouTube as well. Hello, folks on YouTube. Hi, Heen. I'll go ahead and make a couple of announcements. Tonight is our last class of presenting the path. And then we're actually going to have quite a bit of a break, about a 3-week break for discovering Buddhism on Monday nights. And then we'll pick up our next module, which is the spiritual teacher. And that will start on Monday, June 5th. And that class right now, I only have it going for 4 sessions. And Robbie Watkins, our director of Kadampa Center, will be teaching that one. If he needs or wants to go longer than 4 sessions, we may add a session or 2. It's just that we're sandwiching that module in between Memorial Day holiday and July 4th holiday. So either way, we would have to it would be a little wonky if we added another class, just because there'd be a break. It's not a big deal or anything. And then after that one comes Death and Rebirth, which is module 5 of Discovering Buddhism. And Steep, a longtime student and practitioner, a senior student, I should say, at Kadampa Center will be teaching that one. And Death and Rebirth will start in July. So we've got a lot going on. The other thing I wanted to mention for those of you who are local, but actually, yeah, we're offering it online as well. Venerable Rabina is coming on Wednesday, May 17th, and she will be teaching Wednesday evening, Thursday evening on Mahamudra from 7 until 9. So our website has lots more information about that. And then she'll be doing a weekend workshop on Friday evening, all day Saturday with a lunch break in the middle, and then Sunday afternoon. But she'll also be teaching our Sunday morning Dharma program as well. So please join in, whether it is in person, which if you're local, I highly recommend joining us that way. But if you're not local, feel free to join us online for those teachings with Venerable Rabina. Hopefully, all of you have experienced her. If not, come and experience Venerable Rabina. She's awesome. All right. We do need volunteers and sponsors for Venerable Rabina's visit. So if you are local and feel so inclined to offer some acts of service or volunteering, please go to our website and sign up. There's like a sign up genius, and you can sign up for certain days. We absolutely, like Donna and I as co-spiritual program coordinators, cannot do this by ourselves. So please sign up there. And then you can also sponsor the teachings at $150 or above. We'll get you an invitation to an appreciation tea with Venerable Rabina. So it'll be a nice, small, little intimate gathering with her where, you know, you just get to really be in her presence and in a more relaxed atmosphere. But we'll take donations of any amount. So you can also access those opportunities on our website as well. All right, any questions for me before I turn it back over to Hamid? I don't see any questions. Okay, so Hamid, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you.
Thank you, Linda. What a great opportunity. Thank you for mentioning those things. So anyways, let's get going. So let's start with the prostration, and just a quick note, we prostrate to remove our negative karmas of body, speech, and mind, to develop good qualities, to humble oneself. And in essence, subconsciously, what you're saying is, I want that. You're looking at a holy object or holy mind or a pure mind, and you say, I need to be that way. So it just humbles you, okay? You're not bowing down to something or anything like that. You're just simply a mental state of mind that humbles and looking for good qualities. So with that in mind, let's do the prostrations. I have a picture here in case people want to know how to hold the hand. If you're not doing full prostrations on the floor, you can sit in the chair and just go 4 places. Om Namo Manjushri, Namo Sushri, Namo Tamashri, Soha. Om Namo Manjushri, Namo Sushri, Namo Tamashri, Soha. Great. Okay, now you should know the routine. We get into a concentration, and it's also called calm abiding. And calm abiding, you learn about concentrating, right? We always are doing this every start of the class. We've been doing this now, and you're going to focus on your breath. And the whole idea of the 7th meditation posture known as Vairochana posture, or of perfect form, is to give your body, your channels in your body are straight. That's why your back is straight. Your legs are folded in such a way so your back is actually anchored properly. Your arms are relaxed. Your palms are right hand is over your left hand, thumbs touching, so the energy starts floating around in your body properly, or flowing properly, I should say. Head is slightly tilted. And there are other reasons. You don't want to fall asleep. You don't want to be so tight. You don't want to sit and sweat under your arms. And so it allows a little bit of looseness, a little bit of relaxation. So be comfortable. Your jaw and mouth are slightly open. Your tongue is on the top of your top teeth behind it. on the palate. Your eyes are slightly open to make sure you're aware of what's going on around you without focusing there, almost like a daydreaming, right? You're thinking about something, you're focusing on something, it's a little light coming in, and you don't fall asleep. And then we'll set your intention after that. So for a few moments, let's just bring our mind to the class today and just kind of focus on your breath, okay, in and out. Either you can focus on your nostrils and feel that sensation, or your tummy going in and out. Just keep focused. Now, you'll find sometimes after a busy day, your mind goes on to a story very quickly, or something you have to do, or something you didn't do. Just say, it's okay. Bring it back to the breath. And that's the whole point of bringing it back. You're learning how to concentrate and focus, okay? So let's do that. And okay, let's set our motivation. So think, may this action here, this sitting together, listening to Buddha's ideas about happiness, about suffering, about how things are, and the steps along the path to enlightenment, may listening to this strongly develop my potential in my mind. May I take some tools from these sessions to develop my own mind and its amazing potential, and to be benefit to others, all the way to perfection, to Buddhahood, enlightenment. May this action of being here today, listening to the teachings, process, think about it, and apply them in our lives, and be the cause of exactly that. Okay, bring your mind back to the class. Thank you. Wonderful. As Linda said, this is the last class on presenting the path. And just to give you preface, the whole idea was, our goal is to get enlightenment. So we need to know what that was. We'll talk about that in a minute again. But how do I get there? There's so many teachings, and Buddha taught different things, different places, based on the capacity of the person. So we were so lucky to have Lama Atisha, who was invited to Tibet, stayed there, and wrote this. He realized there are some very good practitioners here, but the plot is lost a little bit. So he put this beautiful small book together called Land of the Path. Then Lama Tsongkhapa took that and make it really elaborated, and we got beautiful volumes of the Lam Rim, Stages to the Path to Enlightenment, step-by-step guide, right? And he took the main pieces and put it together. So we are so fortunate to be able to have that. Imagine trying to put together old Pali language, Sanskrit language, and all these other languages, and try to ascertain 84,000 teachings and sutras. So how fortunate that we have this. So that's the whole idea of the path, to get you the whole picture of how you progress, how you can deep dive into different topics, and just have a bird's eye view on the path. And so then oh, I need to understand this more. Oh, this is where I have a problem. Oh, I need to practice that. Then you start to progress, okay? So remember, we started with the fundamental things that we must start with. It's in your mind. Remember, your mind is a continuity of thoughts. Was there, is here, continues. You make your own reality. So think about it. If your mind is in a good state, things appear one way. If it's in a bad state, it appears a different way. And we've had habits from so many moments before this that we've been feeding ourselves, right? So the idea of the path is to change that mind, to first prepare you, show you, then say, how do I get to this happiness? What is the cause of this? And how do I perform? What do I do? So it gives you a nice path. So keep your mind today. You don't have to jot too many notes. If you can just kind of a meditative state, just kind of observe. We've covered all of this, so I'm just going to align it all, and then we're going to put it together. I'm just going to finish the two topics I didn't finish last time at the end of the session here, but just kind of have that mind flow easy today and try to understand and perceive. If you can see this picture in your mind, what is it that you're trying to do? Okay. So remember the nature of the mind. We learned that first thing. It's beginningless, not physical, not created, has a marvelous potential. And we all have it. And so we have the potential. We talked about another contemplation, why we need a mentor, why we need a teacher. And this is a tough one for a lot of people. However, when you need a true guidance, somebody to really take you through this path in a deep way, a teacher is very good to have. So then it becomes like a live Buddha for you. It's one thing to have a mind that says, oh, Buddha looked like this and he's there for me. Those are appearances in your mind. You're making it up. But when you have a live teacher, a qualified teacher, you check him out, he checks you out, you look at the peers, you look at their students, you look at their students, how they are perceived, and are they practicing what they're preaching? Then you develop a relationship and that helps you. And then we got into the little critical part of the precious human rebirth, right? And why is it precious? Why is it precious? Because we have this opportunity. You are not in a state of mind. Remember the richnesses and the endowments we talked about. So for example, you have physical body that is working right now. You're not in a bad state of mind. You have a community that can help you, right? You can look at it so many different ways that you have this ability to be able to follow Dharma. Dharma is being taught to you. You could be in a place where there's no Dharma, but you're so lucky to have this. So you can look at it from that, and you have all functioning parts. So these are some of the reasons, and you have a mind that can be changed, human rebirth. It comes with a package of good and bad, but you have an opportunity to be able to change that pathway towards positive for your future good. Okay, so precious human rebirth. We all have this potential. So let's take a look at it again. If you remember, we started with precious human rebirth, and I went through a couple of things. In the beginning of a Lamrim, they always say the qualities of the teacher, how the teaching should be taught, how the student should be, and all that, and then it gets into precious human rebirth. And so the three parts we talked about, if you remember the three parts, when you're listening to something, when you are in a classroom situation, you need to make sure that you're not like a pot with a hole in it. And you're not an upside down pot or a pot that's already poisoned. You have ulterior motives, or you're not listening, you're not present. So the idea of focusing and opening up your mind to listen to is very important. So then we talked about the spiritual journey. I was just talking to Lori. It's like a journey. We are all in the same boat. Work in progress, I call it, right? So just need to know the path, where you're going, what is it that you need to do. So that's very important, right? We looked at why we need this, what are the three scopes, and we talked about the unbroken lineage. It comes all the way from Buddha through lineage teachings, right? And then you can go back to all your teachers and teachers' teachers and teachers' teachers, and you'll find out that that's an unbroken lineage of teachings. And we are so lucky to have Geshe-la. He's a Larampa Geshe from Siraje Monastery, 25, 26 years of schooling, just that. And he's here in Raleigh, in the South United States. And he's teaching us this Sundays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. So it's fantastic that we have that, and we have an unbroken lineage. And then I give you a little background on summarize Siddhartha or Shakyamuni Buddha's little story, right? So we kind of went through that. So then we looked at precious human rebirth, death and impermanence. You're preparing, you're striving for happiness. So once you know you have this opportunity, then you have to really come to terms with it, that it's gonna go. You're gonna die. You can ignore it, you can put it in the back of the book in an encyclopedia, and we do that in this culture. We don't like to talk about it, but that's the truth. Death will come. Time of the death is uncertain, isn't it? Okay, it's definite, time is uncertain, and dharma can help you. If you remember, the last thought is what you have in your mind, it's culmination, that's what you become. That's where your mind will go to. And then it's called throwing karma. It goes to the next, it has a powerful seed, it moves on. So we are practicing to have that, it becomes part of you. It's all about mind again. So you have to think about that in that way for a second. Let me make sure yeah. And then we went to the middle scope. So now you understand this is like first scope is preparing, you go to death and impermanence, then you remember that you are lucky to have a human rebirth. Otherwise, if your mental state is in a bad shape, you could be in a lower rebirth. Animals are sentient beings, Shen Chen, mind possessors. And they have other realms like ghost and hell realms, people who are suffering, right? Basically, look at the mental state. Or you could be in a demigod or a god realm, however karma runs out. The opportunity to actually practice is wonderful when you have a human rebirth. And so when you feel that way, you say, I want to take some, I need to really learn this. I really want to have somebody help me. So you take a refuge. Refuge is nothing like a child running to mother's lap and saying, I need your protection. I need your help, mom. Right? We do that, right? As a child. Same way, here you're saying, I want Buddha's teaching. I want Dharma. I want that community. I want to practice. That's why you take refuge. And then you start practicing when you talk about laws of karma. Karma, when you talk about karma, if you remember, we'll go through it very quickly in a minute here, but we talked about the non-virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind, 10 of them. So you start practicing. So if you think about what is this path about, this is your first step. You know you have a precious human rebirth. You're gonna go. You want to go to a next, you want to improve your life, right? I will take a refuge under Buddha's teaching and I will practice. So the first thing is you want to avoid those non-virtuous actions, right? So that's when you start to really practice. So let's see that. So here we go. I'm just going to go to my notes, making sure I have everything written down properly for you. I want to cover everything today. Okay. So then we went into Four Noble Truths. Everybody knows the Four Noble Truths? That there is suffering. Number one. Sanskrit word dukkha. Don't worry about it. But there is suffering. And what do we mean by that? If you remember the class, there are 3 types of suffering. There's a suffering of suffering, and what we call happiness is suffering and pervasive suffering. Not to worry about too much, but if you look at birth, aging, sickness, death, you can even use the word instead of suffering, dissatisfaction, discontentment, all of that put together. What we crave for sometimes that give you temporary pleasures turn into old news very quickly. If we go after something new, after a month, that goes away. Something else, something else. This guy and that teacher and this, we do this shopping to give immediate pleasures or feel something about it. But that's fine, but that's what he would call, there is problem. We are hooked onto this, we are attached, and there's a reason for it. The second noble truth, there are causes. And if you went through the classes, you would know we talked about ignorance of not knowing how true reality is, attachment, aversion or anger, right? false pride, jealousy are all these reasons, what they call the three poisons: ignorance, aversion, and attachment. That's the reason for your suffering. And then the next one, he says that that there is a way out of it. The cessation, you can bring it down. And that's the idea of learning the path. When you start to work on your karma, the non-virtuous actions, you are beginning to practice that cessation. I will not kill. I will not lie. I will not steal, right? So what are you doing? You're working your mind to say, before I do something, oh, my habit is to just take it. Maybe I should return it. So you're working constantly, you're improving yourself. So that's what you do. And then the last thing, there's the path. And that's what we've been talking about, Buddha's teaching. There's a way. Right? We talked about causes of suffering. And then we talked about the 12 links. Remember? What brings us back in the samsara? Again and again and again. Okay, you remember that? Those 12 links? So it starts with ignorance, then it goes to composition, so our mental thinking all the time that's going on the chatterbox, it becomes part of your thinking, it becomes your mind, then you start to crave things you like, then you start to grasp because you really like it a lot, or you don't like it, you hate it, then you become that. Before you die, that's your primary state of mind, and then you take a rebirth, that's your predominant mind, that seeds that go with you, that's what you start with the rebirth, then you get name and form, then your sense organs develop, and then you start to have contact, pleasure, I don't like it, I like it again, it starts again, you develop feelings of those things, and then again, aging, death starts again, and you go in the circle. And Buddha says, you can get out of it, you can liberate from it. And you remember I showed you a picture of how this inner circle shows the three poisons, then the karma, how it works, and then there are 6 realms and the 12 links, and then this figure that holds it in a claw, and then the moon is a liberation, and Buddha is showing the finger that that's the path out, that's the way out. So we went through that. Then we went into a little understanding of emptiness. We had to understand, not that I can get very deep into it, but it's a good understanding that you need to understand the concept of emptiness. We even did a good meditation. I think it was the last class. We did the 4-point analysis where we tried to look for the I and we can't find it. And we look at it and from a logical point of view, it can't be part of my hand. It's not part of my eyes. It's not part of my legs. Well, then maybe it's body. And then it's the whole package. And then you start to find it and you realize that it is just the body and mind from eons has been creating this cycle, and the ego has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger, and it sees like I'm inherently me. And if you were inherent, you cannot be changed, you cannot change your mind, because there is impermanence, because mind is changeable, which is thankfully we can change our mind. Okay, so you start to understand the voidness of that kind of ego. Okay, the staticness. Everything is dependent arising. We talked about that a little bit, that everything comes from somebody. You came from your parents came from their parents. Your blood, your white cells, your red cells are dependent on the food and nutrition. If you break your body into pieces, remember the meditation, into millions of atoms. It's all atoms, skin cells, everything can be broken down, yet you conventionally exist. You do come together. And there is something in you, so you cannot say it's totally blank, and you cannot say it's totally static. Somewhere in between is where we function. And so the best way to do is the middle way, that yes, in ultimate nature, you know that we hold on to these things like concrete. It's not that concrete. That don't be so exaggerated about it. On the other hand, you are here, you are functioning. So how do I function? And that's the chance you have to change your mind. So you kind of look at, and it takes a little time to gel with that. It's not that something, oh, I got it now. No, it takes a long time, not a long time. It needs practice. You need to contemplate on these things. There are meditations on it. There are books on it. Read The Liberation on Palm of Your Hand, talk to Geshe-la, and slowly and steadily, it will start to form. There's also a class on it. And we'll go into much, much deeper. And I give an example in the class of a rainbow. Look at a rainbow, it's so solid. We see a rainbow, we call it a rainbow. But if you truly understand it, you know it's the water particles and a light refracting. But it appears, and we name it, we label it, now it's a rainbow. So it's there, but it's really not there. So you have to have these two minds. You conventionally can say, we label it. If I want to talk to Linda right now and say, I was going and driving and I saw a rainbow, she would understand it. So conventionally, the rainbow's there. But when in my deep mind, if I'm meditating and looking at saying, I wonder how those colors come about and how does it form? And you start to see, oh, the sun has to be there, the water has to be there, the right angle has to be there for that rainbow to appear. Right? So you got to have this nature. So once you understand that, you start to see both sides. You see the ultimate nature of things and you see conventional nature of things. And once you start to understand that we all are dependent arising, a tree comes from a seed comes from a fruit comes from another tree, and it can go on, and yourself, you take anything, break it apart, it has something else preceding it. Right? So you start to see how things are. And that's why when we get into Bodhicitta, we talk about we are all part of each other and we have been mothers of each other's at some point. We'll get to that in a minute. So you understand that a little bit about emptiness now. And then we further went into a little bit into the third scope, and we talked about equanimity, right? And so let's talk about that a little bit. So what is equanimity? Can somebody say, or anybody has any offering? What is equanimity? While I'm looking. Anybody?
If you'd like to answer, feel free to unmute and share your answer.
Hemant, to me, equanimity is being able to treat strangers and people I have difficulty with the same love that I have for people that I care about, that it's easy for me to get along with.
Fantastic. Very nice. Very nice. Yes, so we can say, if you look at enemies, friends, strangers, they are not inherently enemies, they're not inherently friends, and they're not inherently strangers. It's your state of mind. If somebody suits you and he or she does something good for you, all of a sudden they are a friend. You know, and when we look at enemies, they apparently do things you don't like, right? Your eye does not appreciate that, and so you say, that's my enemy. But we have to look at it in a neutral way. That person has a father. Maybe that person has a boss that loves that person, you know? So there's no inherently enemy. And you also know friends can become enemies and enemies can become friends. And then strangers are those we don't even care because they don't give you or offer you anything. Hello, hi, walk away, right? So you see it's a state of our own mind. So you develop that kind of equanimity with everyone. Okay, so that's a state of mind. So that's a wonderful thing. So equanimity is an attitude that moves you away from enemies, friends, and strangers using logical arguments to break down ego's illogic. Okay, and there is no inherent enemy, friend, or a stranger. They are simply projections of your delusions. Objectively, these people are all the same. Okay. Okay. So now let's take a look at the entire path. Okay, we understand when you were striving for happiness, you were looking at death, and we looked at, of course, death and impermanence. We looked at suffering and rebirth, refuge, loss of karma, and the lower scope also includes the precious human life, but it's in the contemplation, so I moved it out, but it's part of the lower scope. So then you start to understand it a little bit and say, you know what, I am going to start practicing. I need to understand, why do I suffer? And what do I need to liberate myself? So you understand the Four Noble Truths. And there's a lot of deep knowledge. If you start reading it in long run, you get a little deeper into it. It's broken down all different ways. So it's not as simple as that statement, Four Noble Truths. Okay, and there are four of them. No, it gets a little deeper. You need to understand it. And when you do analytical meditations, you can deep dive into some of these things. If you understand the causes of suffering, and you have to always put it in, why do I have to do this? How can I be free of this? Right? And we understand why we recycle ourselves in this samsara of birth, aging, sickness, and death. And then you look at the 12 links, then you start to understand, okay, I want to liberate, so I want to understand how things are. Once you know ignorance is the root cause of the problem, and ignorance is this inherent I, and seeing things like statically, inherently existing from their own side or inherently existing, and that things are, you don't recognize that things are impermanent and changing, and they are dependent arising. These are the words they use. And you need to understand those words. Naturally, this is a language we want to use in English. So those are the words we got to get familiar with. What does it mean by dependent arising? What does it mean by, this is not a conventional ignorance. If I say this is a pen, I'm ignorant that this is a glass, not a pen. That's conventional. But when you look at ultimately how things are and how we concretize everything solidly, as soon as you label something, you see it as it exists from its own way. But when you start to really get above that and you're meditating and you're looking at it, it loosens it up. It breaks it down a little bit. And that's what you're constantly working with your mind, how things are. And so you start to understand that in the second. So at this point, you can liberate yourself. You still carry a little bit of affliction with you while you're understanding emptiness because of eons of habit, and still individual liberation, we would say. And then you move into, how do I function now? As in the, I'm here, I got to do something and change my mind, and every day I must practice. So then you start getting into these 6 perfections, but mostly, bodhicitta, and then the 6 perfections. And of course, bodhicitta, so we'll go through that very quickly here. Let's just quickly, I'll take you through this, because I was speaking through my head, but it's in the slides here, so we could just refresh it. Okay, we got that. Okay, we talked about this last class. And then we get into 6 perfections. Okay, let's look at generosity. And generosity is not always money, right? People, as soon as we use the word generosity, we even use when we're saying it's, if your generosity is appreciated, right? It is one of it. There are many ways to be generous. You can volunteer, you can help, you can create merits, you can serve in so many ways. You can be kind to other people, be compassionate and generous in many ways. But, it's suggested that have a little training of giving. You get when you give karma, and you have that nature of sharing, and you also receive. So that's a good to know. Okay. And then, of course, you can teach people. It's easy to advise people, but when it comes to giving, we kind of get a little bit tight. What do they want now? So just be open about it. Helping in many ways, you can be generous with yourself. Then we talk about living an ethical life. There are 3 types of morality. Morality of refraining, or morality of constraint, or refraining from the 3 non-virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind. We learned that in karma, right? You will not kill and steal, and sexual misconduct and covetousness and divisiveness and harsh speech and all that good stuff. So you wanna create a more ethical behavior. So you work on that. See where your mind goes. Remember, body, speech, and mind. Appearing, you can come out very good. You can show kindness, you can smile, but what's going on in that mind is also important. So pay attention to that. That's the work in progress. Okay. And then the second one is morality of creating merits. Okay, you're putting bank balance by doing good things, by positive things, you're putting seeds to better your future state. And remember, when the bank balance runs out, you come back again. So you want to create merit as much as you can that leads you to a better, future lives. And then the third one is morality of benefiting others. Okay, it's not only self and me and I, but you have a universal view, like a bodhicitta. That's the way it is, okay? Then the third perfection, and when we say perfection, these are things you're working on. Okay, this is the attitude you are developing daily in everything you do, right? Being equanimous, right? Having generosity is one beautiful thing. Having moral and ethical lifestyle, having patience. This is a courageous attitude. It's just not waiting for a bus. That's part of the patience. But it is when you get upset, when you are angry, time to practice. When the red light comes and a school bus is in front of you and you're 5 minutes late, that will show up very quickly. So you work on your patience. Okay, and also when you're practicing, a little sick or a little headache, what happens to that practice? That goes by the wayside. I'm laying down, I don't feel good. Somebody help me. The ego gets big, somebody take care of me. Spirituality goes out very quickly. So learning then what is important and seeing if you can still deal with that. That's patience, right? So welcome it, and rejoice it. You look at people who persevere, Armstrong, the bicyclist, or a person who works very hard and achieves at the end something. They go through a lot of pains when they're doing it, but ultimately persevere and do it, right? And they become good at it. Same way, this is a work. And then enthusiasm or joyful effort is the opposite of laziness. We are all familiar with all three of them. Right? We can say gross laziness. I can't be bothered. I don't have time right now, right? Too busy. Procrastination. And then sometimes people just give up and say, I'm not capable. So people who have worked very hard to become professional players, professional educators, whatever, they went through years and years and years of tests and exams and quizzes and studying, and days they were not feeling good, but the test was there. You see, they go through it. Ultimately, they get what they want. It's a mundane example, but it works with any practice you do, right? So we got to counter that sometimes. You got to work through it. And, it goes against tiredness. If your mind is strong, your body will do anything. This is the attitude you should develop. Right? So now, so far, when you talk about the first one, generosity, morality, patience, and enthusiasm, that all of those support the compassion package. Then we get into a little bit of the emptiness side of developing that. And that's developing concentration and wisdom of emptiness. So does anybody know what meditation is called in Tibetan? It's called known. Known, and it means to become familiar with. To become familiar with. There are many techniques. Geshe shows us different techniques all the time. However, if you were to break it down into two modes, one is calm abiding, which develops concentration. And the second one is called insight or analytical. Okay? So, what is insight? You can say, maybe a good example would be, you read something again and again and again, and one time a bulb goes on and says, aha. So you've heard the information, you've intellectually understood it, and then suddenly you get it. That aha moment is called insight. Right? So when you have so many things we are working on, if you have any, You're working on equanimity, or you're working on bodhicitta, or you're working on something. And after a while, or emptiness, for example, after a while, it will click. You'll get a little glimpse and say, oh, yes, I get it. And when you go have an insight, sometimes they use the word vipassana in Sanskrit. You go within you and you find out, who are you? What is all this? What is my mind? Why is this all happening in my mind? Where does it all come from? When you start to really, you'll be amazed how good you can get at it, to the point where you can pinpoint it. You can stay focused on that object, analyze it, and get those aha moments. That's the purpose of it. So you're always familiarizing your mind. If somebody says laziness is bad, well, why is it bad? What is good? You're working through that till you reach a point and see if what Buddha is saying is right or wrong. Are the teachings correct or not? You analyze it. Right? So it's like a cognitive therapy. You're working your mind. Right? So, and then you're always thinking how things exist conventionally, how things exist ultimately. You're always analyzing these things. And remember, it is all in your mind. And at one point, you will get that aha moment. So I have some key points here. For emptiness purposes, the ultimate, or the final or the ultimate way things exist is in terms of emptiness. So we impose something onto some material, like a cup or a glass, that it doesn't possess. Okay, we just impose something onto it. We say a white glass, a beautiful glass, a round glass with the lines. I really like it. I don't like it. It's shiny. It's not. It's just a plastic. We put labels after labels after labels, and we already know it's a nice glass or a bad glass. Boom, boom, boom. Right? Especially when it's maybe a grandma's antique glass. All of a sudden we say, oh, that's a very antique. That's a really pretty. My grandma had it for many years. All of a sudden it's a nicer glass. Right? So you project a bunch of meaning onto an old glass that it doesn't have. So why? Because of desirability, right? The story of attachment. Look at how the attachment is working and why you make something so beautiful. And the same thing can appear nothing to somebody else, right? Then another thing is because you can't see the thing going away. We can't see us disappearing. We can't see things breaking apart because we are attached to something. So think about that sometimes. And then the value. We have created a value system. It's antique. It must be more money. So look at how many labels we put onto something. But ultimately, if you really look at it, it's simply that piece. We call it a glass. So it's, again, you got to look at it in perspective, but it's a way to think how we do these things all the time. Remember we said if you put a painting and you put 15 people, you'll have probably 10 to 15 different interpretations. Very same way. So Buddha calls this wrong views. We project permanence onto this glass. We project beauty onto it. We don't even know we are doing it. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, delusions decorate on top of what all is already there. Right? Layers upon layers of qualities that aren't there. We need to deconstruct these fantasies, reconstruct our mind in keeping with reality. The deepest delusion is the one that's called ignorance, not knowing how things are. That's what they call voidness or emptiness. Okay, enough for that. I mean, there's a whole class on it, but at least when you look at the 6 perfections and you go through it, generosity and morality and patience and enthusiastic perseverance, concentration, insight, and then you get into wisdom of emptiness. So the last 2, the concentration, the insight, and the wisdom of emptiness is on the wisdom side of things. The other ones are supporting your everyday generosity and patience and enthusiastic perseverance. So it gives you a way to function. And that's why in that little chart, I said wisdom here and method, how you function. So you can see how the path is helping you build how one should start to practice. what you should be thinking about, how things are put together in place. Okay? And though I call this today's topic, there is really no topics. There are simply some points I wanted to make today. Let's see what time it is. We have some time, perfect, good timing right now. So just for knowledge purposes, there are 9 stages of calm abiding. So when you're meditating, there are 9 stages. And this is not that something that you need to know right now. It is, if you have this book, they call it sometimes different titles, but it is on, I read it up today, 612, page 612, taking this as basis, how to achieve the 9 mental states. Okay, if you have this book, it also walks you through very detailed in there, very nicely. But in short, I can tell you that these are the 9 stages. Okay, and what do they mean? So one important,
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Is that liberation in the palm of your hand?
yes, it's all
Okay,
right.
just making sure.
I just take it for granted. Liberation in the palm of your hand. It's a go-to book. If you are very new to this, there are parts that are a little thick in here. I have to agree. It's not going to penetrate quickly. But once you get the basics and you start to read, it will start to make, the good thing about this is you get the basics, you get the story, you see what Pabanka Rinpoche is trying to say, and then you have questions. Why do they say that? Why do you see that? How do you see that? That's when you start to learn. Okay, it's very nice to go to. So mental placement or inner placement, the first step. So what happens is you're barely able to hold on to meditation object or image before losing it. So when you're new at it, you sit down and say, I can't keep this. My mind goes somewhere else. I see purple and green and blue and people, stories, right? That's your first stage. Then what happens as you practice, you have continuous placement. You're able to remain focused on an object or image for at least 5 minutes or so. Some mental disturbances are there, then they are pacified and they slow down a little bit. Then you go to what they call a patchy placement, where you're familiar with the object of concentration to the point where you can establish a little hold on it, on the object immediately. Once you've done it a couple of times, you can get there, right? Like when we start in the beginning, you know the technique is let's sit down, let's do some calm abiding. You know what to do. You become a little familiar with it, okay? You are still bothered by distractions. Only you can quickly return to the meditational object. So when I say your mind will wander, bring it back to your breath, right? We do that. Okay? So that's where you are. Then you go to the close placement. Now you can hold on to meditation object or image to the end of the session without ever breaking the continuity of your concentration. Okay? The object does not get lost. Okay? If you have a long meditation, then some inattentiveness takes place. Then it's called so once you finish the close placement, you can call it taming or subdued placement. At this level, it is necessary to heighten the mind to overcome those subtle sinking or inattentiveness. There will be subtle ways you can go away, lose it for a second and come back to it. It's still there, but you kind of have the subtleties left in there. So you get subdued. So, oops, sorry, I went to the next one. And the next one is pacification. Meditation is improved through knowledge of faults. So you focus on the faults and you work through various obstacles. And because of that awareness, but there is now, once you get it, you get excited. So even that is a distraction. That excitement is still a distraction, right? So you need to learn how to have a little laxity. Slightly you balance between laxity and excitement, I should say. So, and then you keep that vigilance going on. And then you complete your pacification. And that at this point, power of mindfulness and discriminating alertness are now complete. Your balance cannot be upset by subtle sinking, dullness, or inattentiveness, or by subtle excitement. You attained by the power of effort. Your effort starts to pay off here. Then you get into this complete pacification, right? And then one pointed, you become single pointed. Very little effort is required to remain focused upon meditation object for the entire session. without experiencing even the slightest interruption to concentration. Effort to concentrate is still required, little slight. And then last, meditative equipoise, stabilization. Ability to place your mind on the object of concentration with equanimity. Without effort, you're able to maintain faultless concentration. The mind is tame, but this does not mean the ego is completely eliminated. It's still there a little bit. This is the foundation from which the insight into the truth can be acquired. Now you're on the way to be liberated. These are just for knowledge, that these are steps, and we all do meditation. You find out in the beginning, I can't do this, I can't concentrate. Then after a while, maybe in 6-7 months, like, oh, I can handle it for a while. But then mind goes, some noise comes, something happens, we go. This happens. Then little later on, you're just about to get it and somebody's making a nice pot of coffee and that sound comes up, right? And the smell, oh yeah, coffee. See how our mind goes. So you work on it, you put effort. After a while, it's just part of it. And then you get to this equipoise meditation. It's wonderful. So let's see. We have few minutes. I could do a meditation on bodhicitta, but I thought it was more important. Now that you've seen the path several times, I want you to see the smallest lamrim in our prayer book, Golden Prayer Book. And sorry, I will have to show you all my sticky notes that I always have, but it's on page 93. It's called The Foundation of All Good Qualities. And you don't have the book in front of you. You don't need to open it. When I'm reading it, try to see if you can recognize different paths that we covered. And you can see Lama Tsongkhapa, this is the smallest form of lamrim, is done in a couple of paragraphs, but the entire path is in there. Okay, entire path is in there. And in a way, this is a prayer. He's saying, please bless me to achieve this. Please give it to me. Please make me realize this. It's in a beautiful, like humble way of asking, please come, make this happen in my mind. So thank you. That's the nature, that's the humbleness he has. So when I'm reading this, see if you can point out, and we'll pause here and there. Rather than meditation, this will give you a nice way, and it's in your prayer book. It's only 2 or 3 pages. You can do it every single day as a part of your practice. Okay? You see the lamrim in front of you. You will start to pop very quickly. So let's see. It says here, the foundation of all good qualities is a kind and a perfect pure guru. First, the contemplation, having a teacher. Okay, correct devotion to him is a root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying a great effort, please bless me to rely upon him with great respect. So please bless me to rely upon him with great respect. So remember, in the contemplation, we did the mind, teacher, precious human rebirth. So here's a teacher. So then the next one says, understanding that the precious freedom of rebirth is only found once, is greatly meaningful, and is difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate the mind that is unceasingly, day and night, takes its essence. So the contemplation on the mind, on the precious human rebirth, and again, reinforcement. This is an opportunity to make that mind positive, right? So you can see it's greatly meaningful. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly, day and night, takes its essence. So you practice every single time. When you walk, when you go, when you do whatever you do, the mind is working positive. You're working on it. Something comes up, pause, look at it, say, that shouldn't be happening. I wonder why that's happening in my mind. See if you can do something about it. So you're working on it. Next, this life is impermanent as a water bubble. So now death and impermanence. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. Death is definite, time is uncertain. Again, after death, just like the shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follows. Karma, right? Going into the realms, black and white, going up or going down. Finding a firm and a definite conviction in this. Please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deed. Right? An antidote to non-virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind. Seeking samsaric pleasure is a door to all suffering. So here comes your suffering, 4 noble truths, types of suffering, and the 12 links. They are uncertain and cannot be relied upon. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Remember, second scope, you learn emptiness, you are working on why you come into samsara, and you want to liberate, renunciation. You're not running away to a cave, you're not running away from your work, it is changing your mind to say, I want to liberate my mind. That's the need, that's the yearning. And there comes renunciation. Led by this pure thought, mindfulness, alertness, and a great caution arise. Okay, see, so your mind, you have become cautious now. You don't want to commit those non-virtuous actions. You see reality a little differently. You see things are impermanent. What you say, do, and think has an effect because of karma. So what happens? Mindfulness, alertness, and great cautions arise. The root of the teaching is keeping those vows. And call it pratimoksha vows, lay vows. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. So when you take refuge, you get those vows. Just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara, so have all migratory beings. Please bless me to this. Please bless me to see this and train in supreme bodhicitta, universal kindness and compassion and love for all beings. And bear the responsibility of freeing migratory beings, awaken them. Even if I develop bodhicitta, but I don't practice the 3 types of morality. You remember my class now? 3 types of morality. Morality of constraint from restraining oneself from non-virtuous action of body, speech, and mind. Morality of creating merits. Morality of benefiting others, living ethical life, right? So even if I develop bodhicitta, but I don't practice in the 3 types of morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with great energy. Once I have pacified distractions to the wrong objects and correctly analyzed the meaning of reality, here comes emptiness. Please bless me to generate quickly within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. We just finished that. Concentration. Once you finish the 3 scopes, and then I will finish the rest of it here. So let's look at that now on the slides. I just almost done with it. Not done. I am not going to do this meditation right now. We're just going to go to the 3 aspects of the path. So these are your 3 things: renunciation, scope 2, emptiness. We started in scope 2, and you really start to work with the bodhicitta and emptiness, compassion, the wisdom wing in your 6 perfections, the class that we talked about. These are the 3 things you should always be looking at. So quickly. Okay. So that's the mindset you want to develop. And there's a practice called Tonglen, where if you want to develop compassion, you start slow with yourself, with your family, somebody loved one, and you can take their, you take their pain, give them your happiness. This is a training of your mind, and then you can expand universally. It's called Tonglen. Okay? And then remember what the ultimate goal is. Your goal is your enlightenment. You want to get away from the state of mind that keeps us grasping in attachment and ignorance. And then you take refuge and you understand the graduated path on rim. And then what happens when you're done with that, you have done the 3 scopes, then you are prepared. Now you are ready to get into an advanced state of teaching or training under a guidance of a teacher, and that is called Tantra. And you need to know these 3 scopes, have a very good understanding of emptiness and renunciation and bodhicitta, the 3 aspects of the path. And then under the guidance of a teacher, you need a fully qualified spiritual master that will guide you into tantric practices. And then you can take initiation, and there are many vows to follow, and you must maintain it regularly. And that's all I have to say. There are 4 categories of tantras. Is, Kriya Tantra, Charya Tantra, Yoga Tantra, and Anuttara Yoga is highest Yoga Tantra. And there are different ways. In the highest Yoga Tantra, you're focused on clear light of emptiness and how you function. And you work with your channels in your body with the mindset of bodhicitta and emptiness. So it's very advanced. And if you fall through that, it can take you away. So you need a teacher, you need a qualified teacher to teach you and walk you through it. And now take a look at this. And so now that we've done this and we understand this, I'm going to read this further. Having become a pure vessel by training in the general path, scope 1, middle scope, great scope. Please bless me to enter the holy gateway of fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle, which is the Vajrayana or Tantrayana. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the 2 attainments is keeping the pure vows and pledges or samaya. As I have become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life. Then, having realized the importance of these 2 stages, the essence of the Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy, never giving up the 4 sessions, there's a lot of sessions and practices that you do daily, please bless me to realize the teachings of my holy Guru. Like that, may the Gurus who show the noble path and the spiritual friends of our community, all you guys who practice it have longevity. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. In all my lives, never be separated from perfect gurus. May I enjoy this magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages of the path. May I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara, the ultimate nature of Buddha, your Buddha nature. You see how Lamrim, you see everything that we talked about is in this. It's a very beautiful practice. Literally starts on page 93, 94, 95, and finishes off somewhere 3/4 of the way in 96. What a prayer. Entire Lamrim is there. Okay, so any questions? You at least have some understanding. You got an overview of the path, how we took 84,000 teachings and we put it together. It's a nice, easy way, and you got overview. And just know that there are classes that deep dive into a lot of these topics, death and impermanence, right? Precious teacher, samsara, and nirvana, all of these classes, emptiness, establishing daily practice, all these are coming up. So I wanted to do that. I mean, we could have gone into a nice meditation on bodhicitta and talked about how mothers, everybody has been your mother, how to develop kindness. It's beautiful. You can see that in, I think it's in McDonald's, how to meditate has a beautiful, beautiful practice on bodhicitta, and all the meditations are there, by the way. If you have a book, great. I have also, did we share one of these in the extended Lamrim outline meditations, Linda?
I can't remember if I shared it in
Gary had a copy for students in one of the classes. If you can find it, it doesn't look like this. It is a yellow color, has all those meditations. It's by Karen Wellham.
Okay.
It's entire path and meditations. And it's a copy there somewhere in the homework, somewhere along the way. So with that in mind, I have a questions. We have a few minutes, so I'm going to go through a couple of these things, and then we'll get into some question, some dedication. Okay, 1 second. Okay, here we go. You can open up the mics if you want to speak. So we can, if somebody were to ask you, how is Lamrim structured? Would you be able to answer that? Be free, don't be uncomfortable. If you don't know, that's fine. I will walk you through it, but just it's good to just kind of go through an overview. So if somebody were to say, how is Lamrim structured? What would you say? In the most simplest way.
And again, just feel free to unmute and answer. If you are on YouTube, you can type it in the chat.
There is no wrong answer. Okay, I'll give you an answer. Okay, so you can say that it is graduated, it is step by step. You can say it's divided into 3 scopes: small or modest scope, a medium scope or middle scope, and a great scope. Right? You can at least say that when we saw that. Okay, what is the correct way to listen to the teachings? If somebody were to say, so here, think about the 3 parts, right? You want to pay attention, open mind, don't come with preconceived notions. You listen to the teachings as a personal advice, okay? Not something merely intellectual, okay? So you want to say that, yeah, I have an issue, I want to listen, I want to learn, come with an open mind. So what are the 3 preliminary contemplations? Somebody knows. We've gone through this many, many times, every class, so you should know this. What are the 3 preliminary contemplations? Somebody? Nobody wants to speak. I bet you people know it, but they don't want to say it. Can we say we looked at the nature of the mind as first of one of the contemplation?
Yes.
No. Can we say need for a spiritual teacher as a second contemplation?
Yes.
And
Precious human rebirth.
Got it. So those are your 3 contemplations. Okay. What can you tell me about death? The 3 points of death. We just talked about it. It is definite, right? Time is uncertain. Only thing useful to me at the time of the death are the positive karmic seeds, positive imprints on my mind. Correct? Okay, so another simple one before I cut it out, okay? What does karma mean? What does karma mean?
Action.
Action, reaction, cause, effect. Right? And remember the words? Whatever we say or do or think are like seeds that we plant on our mind, in our mind stream, that will necessarily ripen in future as our own experiences. Right? Okay. Somebody remember the 4 opponent powers. If you really get this, you really got it. What are the 4 opponent powers and what are they used for? So go back to the class when we did the Vajra Sattva purification. You want to purify your mind. You want to purify yourself. You do this meditation. And the first one we say is, you regret the 4 hours. You regret. Not a guilt trip. Oh, not a poor me. You regret. It was not a good thing. I'm going to move on. I will not do it. Then there's a reliance. You rely on the teachings. You rely on Dharma. You rely on doing some good work. Reliance. Then there's a remedy. Apply the antidotes. Be kind. Be compassionate. Give it back. Say sorry if you have to. And lastly, resolve. not to do it. And we talked about it. It doesn't, you start slow. For next 2 hours, I will keep my mouth shut. For next 10 minutes, I will keep my mind stable. For next 2 days, I will see if I don't pick up something by mistake. Things like that, and you improve it slowly along the way, right? And then rejoice, okay? Okay, name at least the 4 of the 6 perfections. We just finished.
Generosity, morality, patience.
Joyful effort.
There you go.
There you go. And then developing concentration, that calm abiding in insight, and wisdom of emptiness. Okay. So very good. Excellent. And what are the 3 principal aspects of the path?
Low, medium, and great.
Okay, those are the 3 scopes, the 3 aspects of the path.
Renunciation, bodhicitta,
Okay.
and realizing emptiness.
Emptiness,
go.
right?
Right? And that's your path. So remember, the first 2 scopes, you got renunciation and emptiness. In the last scope and perfections, this is how you will function, method to function, and you're going to develop equanimity, bodhicitta, and you work on your 6 perfections of generosity, morality, patience, enthusiastic or joyful effort, developing concentration, and then start to realizing the wisdom of emptiness. That's what you need to be working on. Okay, that's your path. And then be very happy to know that we have all these modules coming up. I think I'm teaching the establishing the daily practice and wisdom of emptiness. Okay, and with that, let's do dedication. So just get into a little nice, straight meditative position and think deeply. How fantastic. Throughout these sessions, we've listened to so many things, trying to process them, analyze them, think about them, aspire, have courage with the wish to benefit others. And we dedicate all of this, the sowing of all these seeds, for the sake of sentient beings. And when we do become Buddha, who else will we benefit? Other sentient beings. So this is for them. Long term, that's why we are sowing the seeds. And may this compassion grow and grow in the hearts of all. All right. I'm here if you have any questions. I tried to finish by 8:15. We got it, it's 8:14.
Good job. Thanks, everyone. And don't forget to keep tabs on the Kadampa Center calendar. And next module starts June 5th, I think I said, whatever that first Monday of June is. I will post in the homework the link to the Lamrim Outlines, the book that Hemant was talking about with those really great meditations. So look for it there. If you have any questions or anything, just shoot me an email.
Slides are available to use.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to Geshe-la, make sure that if there is some credits I need to give or write down, I will do that, and then I will let Linda know and we can post it. It will take me a couple of days to do that. So give me have some patience. Hopefully we'll be able to send it to you, okay?
Great. And you can always reference the recording, especially this last class. That was a really great overview of probably most, if not all, of Hemant's slides.
Yeah, and feel free to develop a relationship, call me. And I mean, if I don't answer, send me a text and I'll get back to you, because I work till about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. And then on the weekend or evening, when I see it, I'll respond back. And several of people, community friends, they've become a really good friends now. Over time, we've learned from each other, and they continue to talk. So get to know each other. And if you have any questions, sometimes form a little group, have a question, and even it helps me, because different angles, different ways of looking at things, then I can also grow with it. So we are all in the same boat, like I said, and I'm just thankful for this opportunity. And I really want to thank you all for having the patience with me. And maybe I was able to share some things about the path. So I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Heyman.
Thank you, Heyman.
Eamon, thank you very much. That was so excellent. It taught me so much, and it was easy to remember. So at least for now, but I really got a lot out of it. Thank you very much.
Excellent. That's what I
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda, too.
Thanks, Linda.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
enjoyed
Linda.
yours. Thanks, Linda.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye
Hey, man,
now.
can I ask a question quick?
Yeah, sure.
So as I'm looking at emptiness and exploring these ideas, so really, when we put more value in a spouse and a partner, that's all an exaggeration. They're a mug just like everybody else, correct? So
Yeah. So now you can help each other out. I mean, relationships are good, but don't go beyond exaggeration.
Oh, I like exaggeration though. It's fun.
Right? So you can be kind, have bodhicitta, and we can help each other grow in our path. Great partnership. But when it goes beyond that, and now you hold on to it, it's only going to leave at one point, right? All of us are going to depart.
Right.
So you got to develop that neutrality in mind to a certain extent with the same kindness and love. But you got to look at it that where that love is coming from, and your attachment, your need, or being kind to them in the first place. So you got to work that out.
Right. Okay. Because
it's a lot of work in progress. Believe me, I understand.
I'm getting the concept. My partner just doesn't want to. I'm not going to share with them. Hate to tell you, but
Everything, everybody, we all sentient beings, pets, people, home, name it. That's the idea is you see it, you have compassion, you have love. But when you lose that fear of death and you see how mind continues, you will embrace everybody in a very, very beautiful way. So it's not that your kindness goes away and you don't become like, I can't talk to you because you are just a cup. No, but you got to work that in between somewhere and develop that love and kindness and be thankful for having somebody who can even work with you or learn the same things and help each other out and take it from there,
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, for those of you who are still on, I did just put the Lamrim outline PDF in the chat.
Yeah, and if you ever feel like you forgot what the path was, look at the content and it will remember. And then if you go to that topic, it is beautifully written. It even tells you how you should think before you do that. Perfect. I had this perfect human rebirth already open.
Yeah, it's a great little book. And this PDF that I just put in there is the whole book. So it's great.
Thank you, Linda.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Heyman.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. Thank you, Linda. Thank you,
Thank
Linda.
you, Heyman.
Thank you.
It's all right. So good to see you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Nate. Glenn, did you get that? Okay.